It's Saturday afternoon in Philadelphia. This is College Gymnastics on ESPN. The 2025 season opener from McGonigal Hall pits West Virginia against Temple in dual meet action. And good afternoon, everyone. Alongside former Temple gymnast Lauren Capone-Porzio, I'm Kevin Kopp. Lauren, always so much excitement in the air. The season officially got underway last night. We got to watch some great high-level gymnastics across the country. And now you have Temple and West Virginia. Temple out of the Eagle, West Virginia out of the Big 12, who are both having their sights set on postseason aspirations this year in 2025.
Yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. It's actually a rematch of last year's season opener for both of these teams. Last year they were in Morgantown, West Virginia. Now we're in Philadelphia. Temple's hosting, and I think that these teams are going to be really evenly matched up to kick off the season.
Well, you look at how these teams finished in the 2024 season. They were actually separated by just one place in the final NQS. Temple finished the year 52nd, West Virginia 53rd. Not where either team wanted to be, and so it'll be a great measuring stick today, even if this isn't one of the scores that both of these teams are going to count in the 2025 NQS. Great measurement of where both of these teams are going to be. And because today is a dual meet, let's run through the format with you. It is week one. 6 gymnasts per team will compete in each event. We'll count the best 5 scores and drop the lowest from each team's total. The team with the highest cumulative score, of course, wins today's meet. Temple is the home team. They will progress in home order or Olympic order. That is vault, bars, beam, and floor. West Virginia will flip in the first 2 rotations. They'll go to bars, then vault. They'll go to floor in the 3rd rotation and finish on beam. So in rotation number 1, which is set to begin momentarily, Temple gets to begin on vault, Lauren, which should be a comfortable place for the Owls here at home.
Yeah, absolutely. They're returning a lot of their vaults from last season, but also some of the newcomers to the Temple squad this year are looking really, really strong. I think that there'll be a really good round of vaults for this one, but it is early in the season, as we mentioned. This first meet is definitely about kind of shaking off the rust for returners and also getting freshmen comfortable on those events that they're competing in. But I think we're going to see really, really strong performance from Temple on vault. That's a great place for them to start, and I'm excited to watch.
And West Virginia, meanwhile, will get started on the uneven bars. And again, you look at some of the points of emphasis, and Lauren and I will be digging in on the routines and obviously updating scores as we go. Handstand's going to be paramount, and you see both the dismount and the landings on uneven bars, landings on vault. Obviously, in that first meet, Lauren, this is the first time that these gymnasts are going to be tested in a competition setting. We'll see generally the conventional wisdom is you want to dial in those landings as the season goes on, but we'll see what both of these teams can do here off the jump in the first meet of the year.
Yeah, and I think what both teams I think are really going to hope for is just to put out a solid showing, ideally putting up 6 for 6. As we mentioned, 6 girls go up and only 5 of those scores count, so really setting a nice basis of getting people comfortable with some solid hit routines, and then you can build from there. You can work on the sticks down the line. You can work on hitting every single handstand down the line. But I think this day is all about building confidence and also, being excited. Everybody's, back in the swing of things, no pun intended, but there will be, I think a lot of room to grow from this meet for both teams. And we'll see how it goes.
And we are ready to get the season underway. Hannah Weckler on the vault for Temple to lead things off.
She does a Yurchenko layout half and had just a small hop on that one. A really good solid start for the Owls over on vault.
All right, and you can look at the lineups for both teams. Hannah Weckler, Amelia Budd, Renee Shugman, Nikki Rengifo, Harmony Haro, and Kirsten Johnson in the anchor position. We will go right over to West Virginia on bars. Brooke Alban to open the meet for the visiting Mountaineers.
Really big opening release. Brooke Alban, a big returner for the Mountaineers. So I'm not surprised to see her up first. Get someone out there who is comfortable. Double A dismount. A little shuffle of the feet, I think, but a really solid start over on bars for the Mountaineers. And I think that's what you want. Someone that's, has some experience, can kind of set the nerves for some of the newcomers or people that are, trying an event for the first time this season. But Brooke's, someone they can count on, and she showed exactly why.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a recurring theme as we talk through some of the lineup construction today, as we talk with Temple head coach Hillary Steele coming into today's meet. I think it was a little bit more of a conservative lineup in that way, where you really want someone who's going to hit in that first spot in the order and then set the tone. Ideally, what you'd like to do is be able to move those potential high scores as far back in the lineup as you can, let those scores kind of build throughout the 6 gymnasts. But I think both of these teams, more than anything else in the first meet of the year, you want hit routines.
Exactly. you want to see, maybe some people like being earlier in the lineup or later in the lineup, but they perform better in one spot or the other, and that's what sort of the first few weeks are for figuring out, on top of just, getting some numbers under your belt in a, high-pressure competition setting.
Lauren, we got exactly one routine into the 2025 season before we had a judges conference over on vault, so we do have an extra moment here to catch our breath as the judges will get together and discuss the score for Hannah Weckler. Amelia Budd getting ready to compete second for the Owls. Now that Yurchenko layout half is a 995 start value, so you'll take the deductions from that 995. Start values will figure in the most on vault of any of the 4 events, and Temple does have a 10-0 start value vault in their anchor, Kirsten Johnson, transfer from Talladega, who won the USAG National Championship on vault last year. Huge transfer portal pickup for the Owls in the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely, and you've seen a lot more movement across the entire NCAA gymnastics landscape with the transfer portal. But I think adding Kirsten to this team, and especially this vault lineup, is going to do a lot. I was here for warm-ups, and I saw she's so dynamic. She has so much power, and I think she's going to bring a lot of good energy to this lineup. And I'm excited to also see Amelia back in this lineup. She was in and out last year, but she's got a beautiful Yurchenko full that we'll see right here. Very nice, just that hop on the end, but she got great height off the table. She's got a beautiful line. She's a taller gymnast, which sometimes, people might think might not work to her advantage, but she made it look beautiful.
Miranda Smith over on the uneven bars, junior for West Virginia.
Nice to Tkachev to open things up. That bail was right to handstand. We talked about handstands in the opening of things that the judges are looking for over on bars. They do get 10 degrees before deductions start. Double leg dismount, and just a hop, another solid hit over for the Mountaineers.
It didn't get a ton of amplitude on that dismount, but was able to pull it around, find a pretty clean landing there for Miranda Smith. And now up third, beginning her 5th year for Temple. The Owls have 2 graduates that have returned for their 5th season with that extra year of eligibility. Renee Shugman, who we'll see on 3 events today. She'll compete on vault, beam, and floor. Also, Brooke Donabedian, who will anchor beam and floor for Temple, as an NCAA regional competitor. And that's huge. When you talk about, the incoming class, you can kind of almost add them unofficially to the 2025 recruiting class for Temple. For Hillary Steele to be able to keep those 5 routines between Shugman and Donabedian is really big for this Temple team to build around.
Absolutely huge, and that seniority and that experience is something that's going to pay off dividends. They're so comfortable both at home and on the road, and there'll be, routines that you can count on, and presence that you can count on in the locker room.
We got an opening 9.775 from Alban. Here is Renee Shugman.
Yurchenko full, and she grabs the stick. And you'll see she really milked that stick. There is a new rule this year that the gymnast must hold the stick and present it for 3, I believe it is 3 seconds for it to fully count. Those who've been following college gymnastics for a long time maybe familiar with the college stick, which became very popular. A bit of a rushed stick to try to grab onto it. So I think especially on vault and bars and beam, you will see a heavy emphasis on really trying to hold those stuck landings when they come.
Still waiting for those vault scores to come in as we're halfway through the Temple lineup. Now Jaden McDonnell over on the uneven bars.
Huge combination to open things up on the high bar to a packed salto. Another double leg dismount. Hops back, but 3 for 3 over on bars.
So both teams halfway home in the first rotation of the season as we await the judges' scores for Renee Shugman. Look at the first of the Temple freshmen that will be competing in today's meet, and is Nikki Rengifo. In fact, back-to-back freshmen here between Rengifo and Harmony Haro, who will be up next.
Yeah, and head coach Hillary Steele had some great things to say about her freshman class. I think we're going to see more of them as the year goes on. I think she's really trying to, get them comfortable in the setting, transitioning from, a JO experience into college. But a lot of good gymnastics coming from this freshman class.
No freshmen in the competition lineup for West Virginia on the uneven bars, though they will have a freshman in exhibition, which we have not yet mentioned. Both teams will take advantage of the opportunity to exhibition routines, so they're not on the screen that you see here, which are the 6 routines that count. And again, we take the top 5 scores, would drop the lowest, and that is the team score for the event. Each team will have 2 exhibition routines across all 4 events today. And again, competition experience, you can't get enough of it, Lauren, and especially in this first meet of the year. It's a very early first meet, too, with this coming on January 4th. We're just a few days after the new year, so terrific opportunity for both of these teams to get a lot of underclassmen, especially in those exhibition events, some extra experience here on the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to be said for exhibitioning routines, especially early in the season and for freshmen.
All right, here is beginning her career, Nikki Rengifo for Temple.
Yurchenko full and takes a big step to the side outside of those lines, but keeps it to her feet.
Year 2 of those vault lines. Now, it is not a neutral deduction like floor where you step out. It is an automatic 10th. It is still at the discretion of the judges, but likely a pretty substantial deduction that Rengifo will incur there as we go to Amber Lowe. Unfortunately, the first fall of the afternoon on the uneven bars for West Virginia.
Yeah, so that will mean that they, will ideally want their last 2 gymnasts to hit so that they don't have to count a fall in their, bar team total. Amber was their team's highest bar scorer last year, so it is a shame to see her fall. But, it is early in the season and, like we said, working out those kinks. But she notched that highest score for the team last year on this event. She's got great lines and great bar work overall. So she'll get back up and work to finish this one through.
Oh, and one really nice thing for West Virginia is they've got a senior in Anna Lee right behind her and then a 5th year in Trinity Macy in that anchor spot. So you have to feel pretty confident going into those last 2 routines.
Looks like her hand slipped a little bit as she kind of kipped up to that high bar. So Amber's come off again, but it will, give her 30 seconds to get back on the bar. She looks to seem to be all right, which is most important.
And you can see that the scores are starting to come in here for Temple on vault. 9.75 for Weckler, 9.675 for Amelia Budd. Shugman and Rengifo have competed.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, that routine from Amber Lowe will be the one that the Mountaineers look to drop. They've got a couple strong finishers looking to close that lineup out on bars. Yurchenko full, and a hop to the side, again outside those lines, as Kevin mentioned. Just sort of a guideline for judges, up to their discretion how much they want to take off, but really nice shape in the air, I thought, for Harmony in her opening vault.
Again, Rengifo and Harrow, 2 freshmen, who get their first collegiate routines out of the way, and we'll have Kirsten Johnson for Temple in the anchor position. You can see Shugman, who did hold on to that stick, rewarded for it with the high score thus far for Temple and high score overall in the meet of a 9.8, coming out of that 9.95 start value. So waiting on the scores for Amber Lowe, who took those 2 falls, and now Anna Lee will get set to begin her senior season.
The unique thing, I think, about dual meets is it truly is one at a time. So, you saw Kirsten Johnson over there at the end of the runway, but she'll have to wait for Anna Lee to complete her bar routine just before she finishes completely, which is to the benefit of the viewers. So you make sure you get to see every routine, full screen. Some of you may be familiar with the, as we get to postseason, the 4 quad box view of a quad meet, which is a lot to take in. So it sometimes is very nice to watch a dual meet, just, kind of one routine at a time. You really get to appreciate each routine in the lineup.
A little bit easier to track the relative position of the two teams as well. As you can see with 3 scores counting, Temple currently a 10th ahead of West Virginia, and the scores still to come in from Rengifo and Lowe. Now Lowe's score is going to be low and will be the one that West Virginia hopes to drop. So you'll see Temple with a little bit of a lead in the running tally for right now. Amber Lee with a career high 9.85. She's notched that score a couple times. You can see that right leg, right knee heavily braced. And in fact, the wait long enough that she's going to just take an extra second here and loosen up and get ready to go in a pivotal routine for West Virginia, trying to follow a fall from Amber Lowe.
And looks like they are going to let Kirsten Johnson go ahead on vault. And she'll do a Chenko 1.5. That is out of a 10-0. Took the large step out of it, but it looked great in the air. She gets such height and distance off the table. A solid first for performance as an owl for Kirsten. And that 10-0 vault is going to come in clutch, definitely down the line. For that team total on vault.
Yeah, what an addition to this Temple team. Competed last year as a freshman at Talladega, won the USAG vault national title, represented Talladega as a program at USAG's. Coming here to Temple, she's competing all around in her first meet, anchoring vault, and really a big addition to this Temple roster. So that will complete the competition routines for Temple. Now the Owls will have 2 exhibition vaults as well, as we wait on the scores still for the judges to see where they're going to land on Lowe's routine here. Looks like out of a 9.4 start value, again with some of those missing elements because of the 2 falls. And an unenviable wait here for Anna Lee. And finally, we are ready to go over on the uneven bars.
We'll go blind change, straddled Jaeger, and a pack salto down to the low bar. Double layout dismount. Had some wiggly feet on that dismount, fought for it. But a really strong bounce back for that lineup, and with the weight. There's nothing more difficult than having to do some extra waiting time before your routine.
In exhibition for Temple, Reese DeHaan.
That was a great vault for Reese. She's really, battled back from some injury. She tore her Achilles and has really been working her way back into some of these lineups, and it's great to see her exhibition vault. It's a really nice Yurchenko full. Just had that small step back. And I think to what we were saying earlier, Kevin, you might see Reese jump in next weekend, She, had a strong performance here. You might see Hillary Steele play around with that lineup and see what works best overall.
And she is going to exhibition floor as well. You talk about, the comeback from an Achilles tear. Floor and vault going to be the 2 most difficult events to come back on. She was pretty consistent in the bars lineup last year, but now able to add those leg events back is really going to help bolster some depth for Temple. We will have one more exhibition for the Owls, and should be a fun vault to watch. Brianna Verano, a freshman, will have a 10-0 start value vault.
And it is a front entrance vault. I'm a big fan of a front entrance vault. Gymnastics fans might know Haley Bryant for her vault. This is the same vault as that, I believe. So you'll see her, rather than the round off, back handspring onto the table entrance, she'll kind of jump right onto the springboard and, take a different approach. But it's great to have variety in these lineups, and another 10-0 start value, if she can put this on her feet, would be huge to add into the official lineup for the Owls here in coming weeks.
And here is Verano.
Really nice vault. She got a lot of height off the table, kicked out, did that half turn. Her chest was a little bit down, but she put it on her feet, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and again, you get that extra half-tenth cushion to start those deductions from, so the 10-0s really help you. This is the final competition routine for West Virginia, Trinity Macy.
Really great finish for this official, six gymnast lineup. Trinity, another product of the transfer portal. She actually came over just this year for her 5th year of eligibility. And again, another, transfer athlete who's able to jump right into an anchor spot and really make an impact. It's great to see.
Yeah, and that's huge because you see the 9.775 come in from Anna Lee. We're going to get the score for Macy, but what's going to happen is that 7.8 from Amber Lowe, who struggled with her routine today, that's going to get wiped away, and you'll see the top 5 counting scores for West Virginia. That 46.7 is going to rocket up by maybe 2 full points. Meanwhile, a slight score correction on Renee Shugman. Was originally listed as a 9.8. That's been corrected down to a 9.775. So unofficial total for Temple on vault, 48.475. Quick math, 48.5 times 4 puts you on a pace for about a 194. Eventually, both of these teams are looking to get up into that higher 195, 196 range. But for the first event of the season, no real glaring mistakes, and certainly some room for Temple to build beyond what we saw there.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about landings on vault, and I think that was really the key defining factor. Everything looked good in the air. There were no major falls. Just kind of really working to clean up those landings, eliminate steps, and fight for some sticks.
Journey Lane in the first of 2 exhibition bars routines for West Virginia.
West Virginia showing some great depth on bars. Every gymnast that has gone up, some really great big release moves, nice transitions, and some huge dismounts, which is great to see, especially in a first week meet.
And Journey is a sophomore, and then our final exhibition will be from Kaylin Skeel. So she becomes the first of the West Virginia freshmen to get to compete. And I think this is so valuable for these coaches, Hillary Steele for Temple, Jason Butts for West Virginia. Your freshmen that you've only gotten to see in the gym, in intra-squads, get them out there under the lights. And for West Virginia, out on unfamiliar equipment, a new arena, and see what they can do here. So I think we'll have an important final exhibition routine if we're going to get one. It looks like West Virginia may be ready to move over to vault. And so let's see if we can get a score from Trinity Macy before we take our first break of the afternoon. Rotation 2 will send West Virginia to vault and Temple to bars. And again, the big question mark right now for West Virginia is, once they drop that 7.8 from Amber Lowe, what will they be able to replace it with from Trinity Macy, and how much ground can they make up on the current deficit against the Owls, who open with a 48.475 on vault. We'll leave you in suspense just a little bit longer. Come back on the other side of this break. We'll have your first rotation scores when we return to McGonigle Hall. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Kopp, Lauren Porzio with you here inside McGonigle Hall, West Virginia, with a 48.675 at the end of one rotation. Temple with a 48.475 on vault. So we left you hanging on that final score for West Virginia. On the uneven bars, it was a 9.775 from Trinity Macy. So a huge upgrade for West Virginia. They're able to leapfrog past Temple into first at the end of the first rotation. West Virginia now heading to vault, and Temple will head to the uneven bars. And we'll get to know a little bit more, Lauren, about both of our head coaches today. A longtime head coach for West Virginia, Jason Butts. What a job he has done in Morgantown, now in his 14th season at the head of the Mountaineers program.
Yeah, they've had a very strong history, even back when I was competing. They have always come out with really strong, nice gymnastics, and, I think that's a kudos to Jason and his leadership.
Yeah, competing in the Big 12 with all the realignment that has gone on across collegiate athletics, all of the conferences start to look a little strange now, but with West Virginia holding down the fort in that Big 12, they're looking to get back to a top finish in that conference and continue to represent in the NCAA regionals, which they have done pretty consistently. 10 regional appearances in 14 seasons at West Virginia is a great total. They were off that mark last year, finishing number 53 overall in the NQS, so has a team that I think when you look at, again, some of the mixtures of veterans they've been able to bring in, who they've brought back, this is a team I think hoping to make some strides toward that top 36 here in 2025. And in her second season for Temple as the head coach of the Owls program, Hillary Steele, former Georgia gymnast where she was a two-time NCAA champion and an individual vault champion in the SEC. She was an assistant here at Temple, moved into the head coaching realm, and again, 52nd last year. You look at year two, the chance to have a full recruiting cycle under her leadership, bringing back a couple of graduates. You bring in Kirsten Johnson out of the transfer portal, hoping to make a big step forward here in her second year as head coach.
Yeah, I absolutely think that this year is going to, we'll see a big jump for Temple. I think that getting that first year under your belt, it comes with a lot, and I think that, just being here, you got one full year, you feel more comfortable. The athletes that were either new or returning feel more comfortable. You've got your system in place, and I think it's really going to show as the season goes on here.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, the second rotation from McGonigal Hall, West Virginia leading by 2/10. Second rotation is next. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Second rotation from McGonigal Hall. West Virginia in the lead by 2/10 at the end of one. 48-6-7-5 for the Mountaineers on bars, 48-4-7-5 for Temple on the vault. Teams will flip for the second rotation of this dual meet season opener with West Virginia in the lead by a couple of tenths. And now Temple heading to bars, which I think, Lauren, is the biggest question mark for this team entering this season. Temple missing a few routines that they're going to count on as the season goes into February and March to be part of this bars lineup, and we'll see. This was an event that was a bit of a struggle for them last year in Coach Steele's first season, and I think it'll be an interesting test and probably a good time to be opening at home and at least getting to compete on some familiar equipment here in the second rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some familiar names in this bar lineup, but also there's a handful of newcomers looking to make their mark, and there's nothing but opportunity, I think, in this bars lineup. They've reached some high marks when they've all been able to put it together, so the skill, the ability is there. The start values are there. It's just a matter of getting everybody to hit, go 6 for 6, fight for some of those sticks, and really get to a point where the lineup feels confident in each other, in themselves, and they can put up a really strong team score. And I think that if Temple can figure bars out, it's going to be a huge leap for them, both in the Eagle standings and overall.
Brooke Albin, who began the meet for West Virginia with a 9.775 on bars, will also lead off here on the vault for West Virginia. Gets the go-ahead from the judge, and we are ready to go. Albin, Tui, DiCello, Smith, McConnell, and Rice, the order for West Virginia on the vault.
Yurchenko full. A small step forward, but I appreciated how you could tell she was trying to pull her chest up at the end there to really get that straight up and down landing, maybe fight for a stick, but a nice clean opening vault.
And the opener on bars for Temple is Reese DeHaan.
Piked Jaeger and just comes off. Her hands made it, but thinks she was just stretched a little far. She maybe let go of the bar to do that Jaeger, just a hair early. Just not letting her get close enough to get that full grasp. And as we mentioned, Reese, has gone through some injury, but has, been in the bar lineup in previous seasons. Looks like she's going to start straight from the top and try it again. Try to get the full bonus points that comes with doing, some of these combinations of turns and major releases. Piked Jaeger into a overshoot. It looks like she might have skimmed her feet coming through there, which will be a slight deduction. And she'll go giant full, double tuck, and grabs the stick. Finishes strong with a nice dismount. Good punctuation mark on the end.
Well, we saw that West Virginia was able to battle back after a fall, did not have to count it. They hit their final 2 routines. Obviously a much tougher route here for Temple, who's got to hit 5 in a row. Up second on vault, Taylor Toohey.
Another Yurchenko full. Really good height off the table. Felt like it went very high. And a nice solid landing. I thought that, as compared to Brooks, lead off, you saw that her chest was up a little bit higher. So I think you'll see a little bit of a score increase from spot 1 to spot 2 over there for West Virginia.
He had a great first routine for the freshman, Toohey. In comparison to the Bars lineup, which was a pretty veteran squad for West Virginia, you've got 3 freshmen out of the 6 here for West Virginia on vault. Toohey, DiCello, and then Sophia Rice in that anchor position as well. So a great first routine there for Toohey. And a pressure spot coming up. Temple's got senior Madison Durunda up second.
It's a great person to have in the position. Not that any team wants to be in it, but having a veteran, someone who, is really steady. I think the most, admirable thing about Madison Durunda is she always seems very even-keeled. She's got a great, I think, attitude and approach when she does gymnastics. We'll also see her on beam and I believe floor. So lots of gymnastics here for Madison. Manages to stay on, was a little close on that release move. So you saw her knees sort of bend a little bit. But keeping things moving, swinging well through the rest. Beautiful cast handstand. Giant full, another double tuck. And just a small hop on the landing, but gets Temple back on track with a hit routine. No major fall from Madison Durunda.
Yeah, it's a good recovery there from Temple, and obviously some work still to do, but part 1 of 5 is done, and now Carly DiCello beginning her West Virginia career.
Yurchenko full with a small hop back, but a great start.
I've been impressed by the 2 freshmen, Toohey and DiCello, in these last 2 spots. And Toohey had a little bit better amplitude. DiCello had better distance, a little bit of showing some of that power coming off of the table there. And so we'll see what the judges do with each of those.
Yeah, and if the name DiCello sounds familiar to anybody out there, Carly is the sister of Kayla DiCello, who competed for the University of Florida and also, was a qualifier, the alternate, actually, I believe, this summer for the Paris Olympic Games. So keeping it in the family for the DiCellos.
Yeah, awesome to see her career getting started here, and should be a part of the bright future for West Virginia. 3 vaults complete here in rotation 2, and now the first career bars routine from Brianna Verano, who we did see with that 10-0 start exhibition on vault. So she's had a little bit of competition experience here, now into the lineup for Temple on the uneven bars.
I was watching her warm up on bars, and she's got some great combinations and really high difficulty. Came off a couple times during warm-up, but that's what warm-up's for. So hopefully, she was able to shake out some of those, first-time competing nerves during the warm-up. And if she puts it together, I think we'll see a nice score.
We're going to have a conference between the judges here on bars, as they are way off. We have, you can see on the one side of your screen, a 10-0 start value and a 9-6 score. The other judge had a 9-9 start value and a 9-0 score for Durunda.
Yeah, it's the first meet for some of these judges as well, I believe. So everybody's getting back into it, remembering all the things you may have forgotten since last season.
Meanwhile, Toohey's vault scored a 9.55. And should have scores momentarily for DiCello as well during the wait here.
I think it's pretty common that earlier in the season, scoring does often seem to be a bit tighter.
Yeah.
I think that, judges are coming out of the gates really looking for some big, high quality and making sure that all those details are put together nicely. So like we noted, these judges conferences, I think, in these first couple meets are often more common just to get everybody on the same page, figure out what the approach is, and, making sure everybody feels the same about major deductions, minor deductions, and so forth.
Yeah, you've got a start value discrepancy here between a 10 and a 9-9. You've also got scores that are incompatible with each other in that they're separated by 0.6. So anything outside of a certain window needs to be hammered out, and this discussion continues. So fun for Verano here before her first career routine to have to wait this one out as the judges continue to sort things out. And you talk about that tighter scoring. 8 teams got their season started yesterday. The high score of the bunch, the defending national champion LSU Tigers, who opened at home last night at the PMAC, scored a 197.3. Utah, another expected power, 196.775. So again, those numbers will creep up throughout the course of the season. I think a little bit of commitment on the judges' parts to reining in maybe some of the runaway scoring that we've seen in recent years, and also no one is going to come out of the gate and go mid 198 in week one. I think everyone's got to take some time and build as they get ready for the postseason.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of teams take the same approach. If you have some older gymnasts, some fifth years that that are essential to a lot of your lineups, you might not compete them the first couple weeks. You got to save their bodies, make sure that they're staying safe and comfortable, and also playing around with lineups, trying new people, freshmen, etc. Just like we're about to see here with Bree, who I believe is going to get the go-ahead to keep this bar rotation going.
Well, and that did not go the way the Temple was hoping, as the high score got dropped so that they're within range, but it's going to be a very low number for Madison Derunda.
Really nice straddled Jaeger from Bree. Pack salto down to the low bar. She'll do a half pirouette. And come back up to the high bar for her dismount. She's been a little shy on her handstands, but keeping it swinging. Double layout, and gets a stick. Salutes to the judges. The team is going nuts and really gets those Owls back on track. Just what they needed. And a great opening debut performance for the freshmen. We saw Miranda Smith's Yurchenko full follow quickly after that landing from Bree Verano. Another solid Yurchenko full. We have not seen any 10-0 start value vaults over for the Mountaineers just yet in the lineup, but they've looked really solid. Like we mentioned, everything's looking really good in the air. I think everybody's just maybe getting used to those landings. These landings are hard, so for some of these gymnasts, it's maybe the first or second time they've done the landings, but that was like maybe a stick. What do you say, Kev? It was a hop-ish.
Yeah, it just popped up a little bit, but it was funny because we were talking about the wait for Verano. Well, it was a long wait for Smith, too, through no fault of her own, so she was ready and raring to go. The second, I think, Verano saluted, she was off down the runway, so a chance to look at the full vault there for Miranda Smith. Popped up on her toes. It's going to be close. Judging by how those first 3 vault scores have gone, I'm going to say that they will not give it to her.
Yeah, and when we get Bree Verano's score, I think that maybe what folks might notice, it might be lower than you expect after such a explosive landing with a stick. As I mentioned, some of her handstands were a bit shy of that full vertical position that the judges are looking for. So each of those missed handstands can be a tenth or two depending on the discretion of the judge. So, but nonetheless, an incredible start for the freshmen.
Yeah, it looks like unofficially is going to be in that 9-4 range for Verano. And again, all of these scores are counting because of the opening fall on the 8-8 from Reese DeHaan. So not the first half of the bars rotation that Temple wanted. We'll see if they can get it back here, beginning with Mariella Bruick, the sophomore.
Really nice combination to open things up, able to stay on. Another pack salto. She was a little shy on that handstand just before, but looking really strong through the rest of this routine. Hit handstand before her dismount. Double layout. And another stick for the Owls over on bars. She liked that one, jumping giddy, as she should be. I thought that was a really strong routine. Things are continuing to trend, I think, upward over for the Owls on bars.
Yeah, I think started and finished really strong. She looked really composed, took her time on those handstands, great landing again. Good to see as the scores build for Temple. 2 to go, Kirsten Johnson, Hannah Weckler. We have 2 left on vault, beginning with Jaden McDonnell, who will be up 5th for the Mountaineers.
And while we wait for Jaden to get the go-ahead, I actually, Kirsten Johnson is up next on bars, and she has a sky-high Tkachev that we are going to see. And she was having some trouble in the warm-ups, but I'm hoping that when those judges salute, something clicks, because it really was impressive to watch, even with a miss. Jaden with a full-on pike off, a really unique vault that you don't see. So, from this angle, it might have even been tricky to catch, but, instead of the normal Yurchenko, she actually did a full twist onto the table and then did that back pike off, and that is a 10-0 start value vault. So that was West Virginia's first 10-0 start value that we saw. She did take the step to the side, but a really difficult vault, and always good to see, like I said, something different with a little variety in the lineup.
All right, here is Kirsten Johnson continuing her afternoon in the all-around for Temple. Oh.
And it is, like I mentioned, sky high. I mean, we are sitting above bars, and I think it was really up where Kevin and I are standing, but she kind of missed the rotation in her hips to turn over so she could reach out and re-grab the bar, which was, kind of a little bit the same of what I was seeing her do in warm-ups.
I mean, there is no doubting the power. I mean, that is going to be a wow when she puts that together. And we saw her do exactly that at Talladega last year. Struggles here, and unfortunately another fall for Temple, right on the heels of their best bar score by some margin, a 9-7 for Mariella Bruick.
And similar to Reese, she's going to try again. And it looked almost identical to her first attempt, so she'll get back up and finish the rest of her routine after the second attempt. And you'll probably see a dip in her start value, and that's probably why she did make the second attempt at the skill to try to make sure that she gets to that 10-0 start value. She'll do a double A dismount, takes the step forward, makes it to her feet. As you mentioned, Kevin, it's really going to be a showstopper when she does, kind of figure out the sweet spot for her to do that Tkachev. The height's there, it looks good in the air, just really needs that extra bit of rotation so she can re-grab.
All right, final counting vault for West Virginia, Sophia Rice.
And that's a souk full, which is another super unique vault that you do not see all the time. Out of a 10, Jason Butts liked it. She almost got that stick. Again, she kind of had that rebound type hop that we saw earlier in the lineup. But another super unique vault, and it was very well done. That vault is not easy. You actually see a lot more male gymnasts do the souk entrance like that. There is no round off onto the board. It's just sort of the jump right onto the table. Very well done. You
look at those last 2 vaults, both 10-0 starts, and I mean, that's going to be critical for West Virginia, who has aspirations of competing for a Big 12 title. I mean, you've got Utah in the conference, you've got some really spectacular gymnastics in the Big 12, and vault start values are going to be a big part of being able to close that gap. They finished 5th in the Big 12 last year, and so at least 2 for right now, and we'll see if some of those Yurchenko fulls get upgraded or who might crack into the lineup as the season goes on for West Virginia. But good showing on vault here, and they will stand to increase their lead in the team total as Temple has some struggles on the uneven bars. One more routine that will count for Temple. That will be Hannah Weckler. And then we are anticipating 2 exhibitions on both sides. For West Virginia, it will be a pair of freshmen, Riley Manis and Emerson Smith. And Temple will have junior Amanda Sherman and freshman Nastasia Simone Henry Juniata. All right, first exhibition up for West Virginia, the Riley Manis.
And she did a Yurchenko full in a tucked position.
And judges are going to converse again here about the start value and score for Kirsten Johnson.
Yeah, as we mentioned, I mean, I think that Temple has the awareness that bars is a little bit of the Achilles heel. But they have the skills. I mean, if they put this all together, I do think it could be a really, really competitive lineup. The scoring potential is absolutely there.
You see the final vault score come in. High score of the afternoon for either side so far. That 9.85 from Sophia Rice on the Souk fall. So you see what those two 10-0s do at the end. McDonald goes 9.7, Rice 9.85, and a 48.6 on vault for West Virginia.
Looks like the judges over on bars are back in their seats. So they'll wrap up the official scoring for Kirsten Johnson and give the go-ahead to Hannah.
And that number is going to bring the 8-8 for DeHaan into scoring play for Temple. It's going to be lower than that number. And here is Hannah Weckler in the anchor position.
She'll do a beautiful chapache to an immediate bail handstand. Really, really well done. Giant full, double tuck, and just a hop back, but a great finishing routine for the counting routines for the Owls. I think she's got beautiful lines. I think from last year, from what I remember, she's done a lot of work in the offseason to clean up that bar routine. I think that opening combination looks beautiful. She really was able to hit that handstand and that bail that went back down to the low bar after her chapache. And I think that once she, builds some confidence in that routine, you'll see some high numbers for Hannah.
Yeah, some good moments in there overall for Temple, and then just obviously more mistakes than they were hoping to see. So it's going to be a low number on bars for the Owls. They will have 2 routines scheduled in exhibition. Amanda Sherman up next, junior, and then Nastasia Simone, the Temple freshman, will get her career going with an exhibition bars routine, and then we'll be at the halfway point. It looks like unofficially it's going to be a 9-7 for Weckler. So again, the high spots there, Bruick and Weckler, 9-7s. That's great and something that Temple can look to build around on this event. Otherwise, obviously some issues that they will look to correct moving forward. And now Amanda Sherman.
A really big opportunity for gymnasts like Amanda, though, who did not crack into the top 6. But have the ability to put together a full routine. She came off on her major release move there. I saw her make a couple in warm-up, and it looked really nice. She was just a little far on that one. But so much opportunity for other gymnasts to really step up and make sure that, that bar lineup is as good as it can be.
Well, and I thought that Hillary Steele made an interesting point as we talked with her earlier this week to say there's not necessarily less depth on bars, there's just less consistency on this event. And so I think you're absolutely right. The gymnasts that we're going to see today, Amanda and Nastasia Simone in exhibition, but then on further down in the lineup, there's a couple of injured gymnasts that Temple is hoping to get back on bars as well, are really going to, push and bring some competition to those spots.
Amanda will finish things up here. A giant full double tuck. And a step forward.
And it looks like that is going to be it. We will not see the second exhibition from Nastasia Simone, who I know was working her way back from injury, was actually not planning on doing a full routine. She's still not up to doing a dismount, so I think that Temple is going to moving on to beam. And you see the scores at the halfway point. West Virginia able to open up a sizable advantage after a 48-6 on vault. Temple struggles to a sub-47 on bars. We'll have more on the other side of this break as we recap the scores through 2 rotations next. Temple struggles with a few falls on the uneven bars, and they trail West Virginia at the midpoint as the Mountaineers have opened up a lead through 2 rotations. Temple will be on beam. West Virginia will be on floor in rotation 3. Kevin Kopp, Lauren Porzio with you here in the 2025 season opener, but let's revisit what each of these teams did in 2024 for both programs, looking to build on it as they come here into the 2025 season. We mentioned that these teams were separated by just 1 spot in the final NQS. West Virginia 53rd, Temple 52nd. West Virginia under Jason Butts finished 5th in the Big 12 championships, 800th victory in program history overall, and the 150th for Jason Butts, who's in his 14th season. And you look at some of those returners we've already seen, Brooke Alden and Anna Lee in competition today. Some veterans that they can build around. Incoming 5th-year Trinity Macy anchoring on the bars position, and I think West Virginia has to be happy with what we've seen so far through half a meet in 2025.
Yeah, there's been no glaring, issue, huge falls or mistakes, and I think that's all you can ask for in a first meet. And I have to imagine that head coach Jason Butts feels really good going into beam and floor. Watching warm-ups, both of those events looked really strong for their lineups. And so I think that if they can keep the momentum that they've built in these first 2 events going, you'll see a really strong opening meet for the Mountaineers.
And for Temple, their 2024 season ended with a 4th place finish in the Eagle Championships. There were some high moments in there for Temple, just not enough consistency to get them into regionals. But you look at the 5th highest score in program history on senior day, cracking that 196 threshold, set the floor program record with a 49.575. I mean, both of those numbers, if they could get into that range more consistently, this is a team capable of getting back to the NCAA regionals, where Brooke Donabedian did as an individual last year. They want to bring the whole team in 2025.
Absolutely, and I think if Temple has shown anything, it's that they have the skills and they have the potential to be one of those teams in the hunt for regionals, in the hunt for that top 36, and it's just a matter of building consistency from top to bottom on their lineup so that they have 5 really solid counting scores from vault to floor to beam and to bars. And I think if they can put that all together, not sure that that has to happen, in the first couple weeks of competition for this year, but definitely see the potential coming out of last year, returning a lot of strong routines and adding some really key pieces to the lineups this year that I think we'll see, if they can put it all together, it's going to be really, really, motors ahead for Temple.
And just wanted to file away, Brooke Donabedian, who is back for a 5th year, will compete on floor in the anchor position. She went 9.875 at regionals last year, and that is a routine that you are not going to want to miss this afternoon, regardless of the implication on the team score today. That is one of the best floor routines that you'll find in the country. But before we get there, Temple will be on the beam. West Virginia will be on floor. That's next when we come back with the 3rd rotation from McGonigal Hall. Kevin Cott, Lauren Porzio with you as West Virginia in the lead with a 97-275 at the midpoint. Temple with some issues on the uneven bars, 95-325, trailing by nearly 2 full points as we go to the third rotation. Temple will be on beam. West Virginia will be on floor, and Lauren, as we'll get to see Temple first. This is really a test of kind of the mental toughness right now. Obviously, it wasn't a bars rotation that Temple was hoping for here at home in the opener. A couple of falls. They've taken themselves mostly out of contention in this meet today, but now just trying to put that behind them, and you've got the right gymnast up leading you off in Renee Shugman.
Absolutely, yeah. Barring any major disaster on floor or beam for West Virginia, I think Temple can really turn its focus now inward, really just look at their own team, stay in their bubble, and try to put together 12 really solid routines on beam and floor, 2 events that have been really strong. And as you mentioned, Renee starting things off here for Temple is absolutely the best choice for the job. Another one of those athletes that just feels super steady so much of the time in everything that she does. I know that Hillary Steele has to be happy that she's back and feeling good from a health perspective as well. She'll go front aerial as her connected flight series. Very well done. And I think that Coach Steele also mentioned you'll probably see Renee slide down in this lineup as the season goes on. I think kind of the theme of what we've been talking about all day is getting these teams comfortable. And Renee, who's finishing up with a round off 1.5 and just a small hop, a really solid start for this beam lineup, is someone that can score really big. And you will see her do that, but you got to get your beam team comfortable and set it on a good note, which Renee absolutely did, and it helps, kind of that middle chunk of the lineup feel really good going in and getting up on that beam with no fear.
Yeah, long-term trajectory, you definitely want to see her 4th, 5th, or 6th in that beam order, but great lead off there for Temple, exactly what they needed to put bars behind them, trying to do the same now for West Virginia on floor exercise. They go the opposite route, true freshman Riley Manis.
She went back 1.5 front layout. The one thing I noticed about Riley, kind of watching her warm up earlier today, is her toe point is exceptional. And I think she has choreography in this routine that really shows that off, which is always good. I think that's what, floor routines are best, when they're really, highlighting the best of the athlete in addition to the tumbling that they've got going on.
This is West Virginia's strongest event as a team last year. They finished 44th in the country on floor. 3 meets of 49.250 or better. And for Manis to be able to crack her way into the floor lineup as a freshman really tells you something.
Front 1.5 as that second pass. Yeah, I think it really speaks to the confidence that the coaching staff has in her, especially on such an important event like floor. And no major issues for the freshman. She kicks things off solid and steady.
Have another freshman, Emerson Smith, who is due up 4th in the West Virginia floor lineup. And then a couple of those seniors that we talked about, Brooke Albin, Anna Lee, veterans that passed the 500-point threshold in their careers. So you got a good mix of youth and experience there for West Virginia on the floor exercise. Waiting on a score for Renee Shugman, the rest of the Temple beam lineup: Mariella Bruick, Kirsten Johnson, Madison Durunda, Robin Dunn, and Brooke Donabedian will get her graduate season started as she'll anchor both beam and floor for Temple.
Mariella has to be feeling good after bars. I think she put up a great performance over on bars to really give her some momentum on to beam.
Yeah, she had one of those 2 team-high 9.7s along with Hannah Weckler on the uneven bars. Bruick, a gymnast that was here for Temple last year as a freshman but did not compete as she recovered from injury, and cracking her way into a few lineups as she begins her sophomore season. And we've got, looks like another get-together between the judges here.
I think they just missed each other.
We have from the judge on the far side a 10-0 start and a 9-7-5 score, so presumably the judge on the near side to us, the score that we can't see would be considerably lower or off on start value.
And for any newer watchers to gymnastics, that start value, I think is easiest to understand on vault. Each vault is worth something different. But on bars, beam, and floor, it really is sort of a amalgamation, if you will, of all the different skills put together, and those done in combination get you bonus points. And so, obviously you want to get up to that 10-0 start value with the combination of skills, and in the case of beam and floor, dance elements are taken into account. And so, when that start value is off, it's sort of imperative that they are kind of matching to make sure that those judges saw the same things. There were no broken connections, so we saw Renee Shugman do that front aerial to front aerial as a connected series, and if one judge thought it was too slow of a connection, they might have said that doesn't count, and that would affect the start value in a negative way. So there's a lot to consider when it comes to especially the beam and floor start values and scores.
Meanwhile, you see the score come in for Riley Manis, a 9-6-7-5 for West Virginia with their opening routine. So the weight continues over on beam for Temple.
The rest of the team becomes so important during breaks like this. I think you can, kind of see Temple's trying to keep things light. Make sure that Mariella just stays as relaxed and focused as possible. I think each gymnast probably needs something different when it comes to breaks and delays like this. So, Mariella might go kind of do some mental sets, walk through some of the skills, keep herself warm, keep herself loosened up. But in the gym, I think teams practice these types of things all the time, whether it's noise, quiet, loud, delays or no delays. So I think that that's what preseason is for in a lot of cases, not just doing the skills, but
well, and as the judges both dig their heels in over on beam, no one appears willing to yield. The meet referee has given the go-ahead to move things along on floor. So we will go over to Journey Lane, who will be second on floor for West Virginia following the opening 9-6-7-5 for Manis.
Really unique first pass. She went a front 1.5 to a back layout and then an immediate jump. So when we talk about collecting bonus, combinations like that are things that you'll often see to really get those start values up.
You look for no loss in amplitude between those connected elements, and there certainly wasn't there for Lane. Plenty of power.
When punch front double full as her second pass. And a solid second hit for the Mountaineers.
Well, and it appears for the second time in we've had two extremely extended deliberations, and it looks like in both cases the lower score is going to be the one that prevails. We had what started as a 9-7-5 from one judge from Shugman is going to be taken way, way down. So we'll see how that ends up resolving itself. Meanwhile, Mariella Bruick
handspring layout step out series. Really nicely done. I loved the sort of command of that landing that she had. It came straight up. There was no hesitation or wobbles. Front toss. She took a little bit of a step forward out of it, but stayed on, so just a minor deduction on that element. In those leaps, we're really looking for those 180-degree extensions, so, you know, full splits. As she goes for her dismount, gainer full off the side. A solid hit for the Owls. I've been very impressed with what we've seen from Mariella today. I think that, you know, with some more confidence, with some more numbers under her belt, she'll have some really, really strong scores this season.
A pretty wild resolution on the Renee Shugman situation. We'll dive in on that in a moment, but we'll continue here with Brooke Albin. 9.825, by the way, was the score for Journey Lane.
Opening double pike for Brooke. Front layout, front full, nicely done. I think you can always tell, you know, some of the older, you know, more senior gymnasts, there's so much control in all of these skills and all of the landings. You know, the landings on floor, gymnasts are allowed to take that one step out of a, you know, tumbling pass as long as it's controlled. And we'll see one final pass here from Brooke. Double tuck, really nicely done. Showing exactly why West Virginia's best event was floor last year. I mean, there's so much to say about the cleanliness and the control that we've seen really from all three of the athletes in this lineup. They've got nice landings, and that's going to go a long way in building those scores.
Kirsten Johnson will be up third for Temple on beam. Continuing her Temple debut and her debut in the all-around for the Owls.
Yeah, has had, you know, a little bit of time to shake off bars, but hopefully come back strong here on beam. And fights to stay on that flight series, but unfortunately kind of just wobbles off to the right. Her leaps have looked really strong, like I mentioned, those full 180-degree splits. And she'll go punch front 1.5 dismount. Finishes strong despite the fall.
And so real quick, I want to tie off the loose end on the Renee Shugman 9-3 score. It's not your ordinary 9-3. The judges never resolved their disagreement on the start value. So one judge had it as a start value of 9-3 with a 10.5 of deduction for a 9-1-5 final score. The other judge had a 10-0, but had to take enough deduction to get the scores within range and got it down to a 9-4-5. So it's about the weirdest way that you could possibly get to a 9-3 score that I can fathom, and that's what we did for Renee. Meanwhile, over on floor, Emerson Smith, the freshman, beginning her collegiate career for the Mountaineers.
had a little too much power on her opening pass there. You saw her kind of take a couple steps backwards. Just too much juice sometimes. The adrenaline takes hold a little bit, which for your freshman debut on floor, I can assure you that there's no shortage of adrenaline going into that first tumbling pass. And I think the other thing you'll notice from all teams, not just West Virginia or Temple or otherwise, is, you know, you'll really see some of these athletes start to settle into the choreography of their floor routines. That does really factor into their score, you know, how much they're showing it off and engaging the crowd or their teammates. Front layout, front 1.5 for the second.
And so Smith finishes up on the heels of two 9-8 plus scores for Lane and Albin. We got 2 left from West Virginia that will count toward the team score, and then scheduled for 2 exhibitions from West Virginia. We'll see what we get. Madison Durunda now on the beam following the fall from Kirsten Johnson.
And this is a routine that really, I think, commands the room. I think that she has so much control and ease on beam, and she opens up with a huge triple series that you'll see right here. A little bit of a wobble, but stays on, and that's so much bonus. It's so difficult, and there's, you know, I think that she does it so beautifully, and she's so light on her feet on beam that she's a great one to watch on this event. She's been a mainstay, really, in this beam lineup, I think, during her time at Temple. And another solid hit, I think, over there for the Owls. And there's little things, I think, with each of those routines, little wobbles or balance checks that you're seeing. Obviously, with the you know, fall from Kirsten Johnson coming up, showing there, but you know, Renee and Mariella had great hits, and you know, all you can do is kind of get up there and hit your routine the best that you can, and the rest is unfortunately sometimes up to the judges.
Yep. We got a freshman and a 5th year to finish up for Temple. Meanwhile, Anna Lee over on the floor exercise for West Virginia.
Huge front double full to open things up. From this angle, I couldn't quite tell if she stepped out, but she was close.
I didn't see a flag coming. It was very close, but I think she kept that toe on the line.
Yeah, it looks like she was in. If she would have gone out, it is an automatic 1/10 deduction for anyone that does go out of bounds, but that's where that senior experience comes in, keeping things in control, knowing exactly where those lines are. And I did see a hand go up on that one, so there was, you know, that last foot kind of went out of bounds there in that front 1.5 back layout step out combination. So we will in fact see the deduction. Here is the first pass once again. Toe was right on the line. That's about as close as you can get. But unfortunately, she did kind of take it out of bounds on that last pass.
Yeah, so that'll be a 1/10 neutral deduction off of the final score there for Anna Lee. But again, give her a lot of credit for competing for this team on 2 events thus far. She'll also be in the beam lineup again with that right leg heavily braced. Not easy to be out there doing floor exercise, and delivers a good routine for the Mountaineers. First career routine on the beam for Robin Dunn, Temple freshman.
The beloved Wolf turn. you see from so many these days, but beautifully done by Robin. Back handspring, back layout, step out, beautifully done. I really like the lines that Robin has. She's really, you know, fully extending from her fingertips to her toes. Front aerial, split jump. Just the dismount, leaps, switch leap. My apologies. So far, so good here for the freshman. She'll go handstand into a gainer full, gets it to her feet with just a hop, but I would say a beautiful debut for a very high pressure event for the freshman.
Yeah, and like you said, Lauren, when you look at the line there, you can tell when she puts it together, she's going to be an excellent, excellent competitor. Very bright future ahead for Temple. Back over to floor exercise, Amber Lowe in the anchor position here for West Virginia.
Really powerful double tuck to open things up. Back 1.5 front layout. Really nicely done. A double pike to close. I would say her chest was down a little bit on that landing. But a solid 6 up, 6 hit for West Virginia over on floor. The only, you know, I would even say, if you could call it a big mistake, which it's a 1/10 mistake, was the out of bounds for Anna Lee. I'm very impressed with, you know, the control on the landings, for, you know, on the whole for West Virginia. And I think they're going to have a great season on this event.
I do want to note, because we were able to check within the Vertius scoring platform, they have not registered that neutral deduction for Anna Lee. So that 9.8 is her score. I believe that once they take a closer look at that, they're going to drop that to a 9.7. But a great routine, and obviously you hope to clean up that mistake and move forward. I mean, you've got a lot of 9.8 plus routines here in the West Virginia lineup. Stop me if you've heard this one before. We've got a disagreement between the judges on beam. Once again, the judge on the near side has not given the connection and thus has given a 9.8 start value. I mean, that is, and I saw her shake her head no immediately. I looked right to, this is the same judge that had Renee down for a 9.3 start value, so I looked right on that connection and she was shaking her head vigorously no, that she was not going to give it to her, and sure enough, it's a 9.8 start. So it's, I mean, that is as tough as you're going to see. I'm a little stunned. So that's a tough break for Mariella, and the scores seem to always have been corrected down today. So she's been forceful in her opinions and has won the debate, it looks like, once again in the post-routine conference. So that'll hurt Bruick's final score.
And, you know, the thing there is you think you really just hope that it's consistent across the board. You know, judges' discretion is the name of the game here for gymnastics. And, you know, if they're, you know, applying the same pressure to all teams and all gymnasts competing, then, you know, that is how the day is going to shake out.
Brooke Donabedian in the anchor position for Temple.
And this routine has been, solid in the years that Brooke has been here. I always say about Brooke that she really puts the artistic in artistic gymnastics, even on beam, and you'll see her again on floor. The front aerial back handspring combination for her flight series. I didn't see any vigorous head shaking, but you never know. Round off, back 1.5 dismount, just a little slide back of the feet. A great hit for Brooke.
Nice finish for, again, an otherwise kind of bumpy beam set for Temple. Now on to the exhibitions for both teams here in the third rotation.
Yeah, Amber Lowe closed things out for West Virginia with a huge 9.875.
Oh, that's awesome. 48.975 for West Virginia. So, again, the teams haven't really been in this range so far today, but the magic number is 196, especially for both of these programs. And to get there, you want to average a 9.8, which gets you 49 per event. So they're right on that 49 mark on floor. If they can put together 4 of those scores, they're going to be feeling very, very good. In exhibition, meanwhile, this is Trinity Macy. Macy, a 5th year who we saw anchor the bars lineup.
Back 1.5 to a front half with an immediate jump. Another one of those sort of combination tumbling with, some artistic jump elements out of it. I always love to see when gymnasts can do that. It's I think a newer thing over the last few years, and it always looks so dynamic. And we talked about amplitude earlier. If you get a really big jump out of some of those tumbling passes, it really puts a nice exclamation point on them. And a front 1.5 to close things out. Clearly also some great depth for the Mountaineers over on floor. Adding another hit to the list for the day.
Yeah, terrific job. They just keep it going. And we'll have one more exhibition on floor for Taylor Toohey. We'll go from 5th year to a freshman. And that might be the next routine we see because the judges are back at it over on the beam. It has become somewhat comical. At least that's all you can do if you're Hillary Steele. It's just... Yeah,
I mean, I think it's hard because you have your gymnasts up there with the exception of Kirsten Johnson. You've had hits, great hits.
Yeah. With
no, a couple balance checks here and there. Obviously some things to work on as we expected with the first meet of the year. But I'm sure that the team is sort of over there with some puzzled looks and some confusion about, about what to do, what to work on. Given the complexities in the scoring today. And, for those watching who maybe don't watch gymnastics or college gymnastics that often, this is not normal for the judges to meet this often.
It happens, but yeah. And again, when you have one judge on one side that consistently has a 10-0 start value for the routine and another judge on the other side that has consistently not had these routines at a 10-0 start, and it's not because of routine composition. These routines are all designed to start at a 10-0, and obviously, yes, if you have something like a missed connection or a missed element, that's not going to do that. But, barring anything egregious, it's unusual to see this many routines out of a 10 or not at a 10-0 start. Now, that's not what happened this time. The scores were flipped this time. Go figure. But they seem to have reached a détente. And we'll get a final number for Brooke Donabedian. And now we will move over to exhibitions for Temple. And this will be Nikki Rengifo.
Another one of the Temple freshmen. We saw her on vault in the lineup. Now getting a first glimpse of the freshman on beam. certainly an event that I think any, former or current college athlete appreciates having an opportunity to exhibition on it, especially at a dual meet when, really all eyes in the arena are on you. Handspring layout, step out. Thought she was going to stay on there. Kind of a wobble to the side, fought, and then kind of came off. Side aerial. Switch leap combination. And her dismount is back handspring, back 1.5 with just a hop. I think really nice elements there from the freshman. And again, the exhibition opportunity, just a great chance to get out in front of a live crowd with, the music, all of it, and get a number under your belt. So
Trinity Macy, by the way, scored a 9.625 in her exhibition for West Virginia. Now just starting to get some beam scores, catching up on Madison Derunda, 9.475. And we'll have one more exhibition coming for Temple before we take our final break of the afternoon. Final rotation will have Temple on floor exercise and West Virginia on beam. And the last exhibition for Temple will be sophomore Megan White.
Next on beam for Temple in exhibition is Megan White.
Megan White gets the go-ahead for her exhibition. Handspring layout, step out. The front foot comes up just a little bit. And, I had talked about this a little bit with Mariella Bruick's flight series, that confidence in the landing, really making sure you're planting that front foot solid and getting that chest up so that you don't have those little wobbles or pull your feet up. Or those little tents that are going to add up. And, maybe some of those little tents where, I do think the judging is a little tight, but there is, some of those little things will really add up and push more into that 9.8 plus range as the season goes on. Round off 1.5, and just a hop back.
All right, nicely done by Megan White, and Temple has completed their 2 exhibitions. We are ready to head to the 4th rotation. Temple will get to finish on floor here at home. West Virginia goes to balance beam. See if they can complete their afternoon and secure an opening day victory here in Philadelphia. 4th rotation on the other side of this break. Three rotations in the books here in McGonigal Hall in Philadelphia. West Virginia with a commanding lead, 146-250 for the Mountaineers after their best performance of the day so far on floor exercise. Temple with a 142-850 after some tough scores on beam. Hit 5 routines. Lauren didn't get quite the scoring that they had hoped to, but they will go to an event next that they feel very strong about in the floor exercise.
Absolutely. An event that they have depth in, an event that they're returning a lot of their strong routines. Last year they did set the program record on this event, so they have to be, kind of, I think, taking a big exhale getting to floor at this point. Beam, I actually thought they looked great. It, out of their hands a little bit. And I'm sure it's something that, really more affects the mental than anything to kind of have, when people look at it on paper, they'll probably think, oh, major mistakes, lots of falls, but it really, those 5 counting routines were hit with some some minor bobbles, but it's, so I think that maybe, I'm hoping, Coach Steele said, hey, we had a solid beam rotation, let's go have some fun on floor.
All right, before we get there, a look at the series history. This has been heavily tilted toward West Virginia. 50 wins, just 1 loss in the all-time meetings between these two. Temple's win came back 1987, scores of in the 175 range. A lot has changed since 1987 in the sport. They did meet last year in the season opener, as Lauren noted. This was in Morgantown. And again, you look at those scores, 193-8 for West Virginia, 191 for Temple. Not scores that either team carried with them into the final NQS in the postseason. Good dual meet win for West Virginia, and again, a good test of where each of these teams stand, but it's not everything. Temple ended up actually finishing 1 spot ahead of West Virginia in the final rankings last year. So the head-to-head, especially in week 1, only tells you so much, but I think we have to be very impressed by what West Virginia and Jason Butts have put out on the floor so far today. If they can finish it on beam, this is going to be a really strong opener. Yeah, absolutely. I've been incredibly, excited to watch how they've put together these lineups. They look super confident and super consistent. Even their newcomers, have a confidence about them that I think is really, really promising for the rest of the season. And, beam really can sometimes make or break a meet, but with the momentum that they have today, if they carry it through till the end, I think we'll see a really solid score that everyone can be really excited about and still build upon. Like I mentioned, no major mistakes from West Virginia, but I think everybody's seen a couple things, landings to clean up, some things that will inch up closer to those bigger 196, 197 scores that both of these teams so, desperately are working towards. Yeah, a long time to come before the end of March and the respective postseasons for these teams. Of course, hoping for both of them that they'll end at NCAAs, but West Virginia knows that they will go through the Big 12s, which are in Utah this year, and Temple hosts the Eagle Championships in the 3rd weekend in March, right next door at the Liacouras Center here on Temple's campus, which should be very exciting. So we will get to the 4th and final rotation of this dual meet on the other side of this break. Temple finishing on floor, West Virginia on beam when we come back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Kopp, Lauren Porzio with you here as we get set to start the 4th and final rotation. West Virginia and Temple, the Mountaineers, in the lead after putting together a very nice floor rotation. Temple on beam goes 47-5. West Virginia on floor 48-9-7-5 and is open to lead about 3.5 points going into the final rotation. Temple, though, on floor exercise, probably their strongest event overall, and West Virginia will try to finish on beam. As Lauren, let's take a look at what the judges are looking for, at least our best guess as to what they may be looking for as we look at some points of emphasis on the balance beam first for West Virginia. Yeah, as we kind of have talked about, because of all of the judging discrepancies over on beam, is connections. As you see in the middle, there is a big one, whether it's flight elements or dance elements being connected. There can be no hesitation as those elements are pieced together. And then, just balance checks. So anytime you see like, oh, they might fall or something like that, those can range anywhere from, a 1/4 of a tenth to a full tenth or two. And so there's a lot of opportunity for deductions within a beam routine. Which does, why it has become such a, high pressure event, not even considering, the 4 inches wide piece of the whole bit. But floor, so much fun on floor. Everybody loves floor. It's, a great thing for the home team to end on floor. We're looking for difficulty in the tumbling passes. We're looking for really controlled landings, as we saw with West Virginia. And then I talked about it, but, we really want the gymnasts to put on a show. You want to be entertained. You want to see some really good dance that matches the personality of the gymnasts. You want to see them having fun. And, that can always lift a score, when it comes down to it, because so many gymnasts have such strong tumbling and dance passes on floor sometimes that presentation can be kind of the it factor for a floor performance, one way or the other. All right, we are underway on beam, final rotation, and it is Miranda Smith, the junior, that opens things up for West Virginia. Yeah, I'm hoping that, West Virginia kind of said to each other, let's just keep this going, keep our heads calm and cool, because all things have been going well for them thus far today.
layout, step out flight series are really challenging flight series to do. Normally you see sort of the back handspring before the layout, step out. Round off 1.5 dismount with just a little hop. A solid start and a good hit for the beam rotation.
On floor for Temple, Madison Yaranda.
All right, now over to floor exercise, and you talk about the depth that this Temple team has on this event. Lauren, Hillary Steele told us earlier this week that she expects there are no fewer than 16 gymnasts on this team that could potentially have a routine in this floor lineup. So tough competition for these 6 spots, and they lead off with the senior Darunda.
Huge double tuck to open things up. And it's always fun to see, especially returners, when they get some new choreography from the year or two past. From my watch during warm-up, it looks like all of our Temple returners got some new music, some new choreography in the off-season. So it should be fun to kind of watch how they've pieced everything together. Front leg, front 1.5, keeps that foot in bounds. I did not see a hand go up. And a great way to kick things off for the Owls.
Nice start with Hannah Weckler, Summer Ruski, Kirsten Johnson, Renee Shugman, and Brooke Donabedi, and pretty veteran Temple floor lineup. And folks, we're back at it. We're back at it on beam. Now, the irony is this time it's our judge on the far side that had the 9-7 start and our judge on the near side that had the 10-0 start, so.
Someone's overcompensating now.
This is like when you're trying to pass someone on the sidewalk and you think they're going to go right, so you go right instead, and then you're doing that little dance,
yeah.
And let's see where this one lands. I do feel for the gymnasts and the coaches on both sides here. It is, you try to get into some sort of rhythm, and especially on beam, as mentally challenging an event as there is. Not helping matters to have the continued interruptions, though I will say this was a much more brief discussion, so they're at least learning some conflict resolution strategies. And we should be ready to go momentarily here with Julia Brown.
Triple series for Julia. Handspring layout, step out, no movement on that one. Really nicely done. A little bit of a balance check there on her full turn. The full turn is a requirement for all gymnasts to do on beam. Can give people more trouble than you would think. Round off, double twist with the stick over on beam. Brown settled in really well to finish that off strongly.
Yeah, great difficulty in that routine. Triple series, round off, double full. Nice routine from Brown. 9.55 is that opening score for Smith. We did have a 9-7 start from one judge. So the inconsistency on beam scoring plaguing both teams at the moment as we go back over to floor. Following the opening 9-7-2-5 from Madison Durunda, here's Hannah Weckler.
Front 1.5, back layout step out. She had huge amplitude on that, back layout step out. There was a lot of power kind of coming back, and she was able to keep it inbounds. You can see some of her teammates there. Everybody knows the choreography already by this point in the season, so you'll always see teams doing some of the moves on the side. Really nicely done.
Opening for West Virginia, Amber Lowe.
Now up third for West Virginia on balance beam is Amber Lowe.
We were free of conference before this routine.
I didn't even want to say, I don't want to jinx anything, but yeah, I think we had some good scores that justly deserved for Julia Brown, who had a great routine.
Little bit of a balance check there. Handspring layout step out, and unfortunately comes off onto the right side. So Mountaineers will definitely be looking to, make sure that the back half of their lineup at least stays on the beam with no falls. Round off 1.5 with a hop. Closes things out well, but unfortunately, did have to come off on that flight series, and West Virginia in, fight back mode now over on beam.
A little bit of adversity for West Virginia here, who had been kind of on cruise control for most of the latter stages of this meet. Wanted to preserve what would be a good season opening road score if they can hit their final couple of beam routines. Drop the fall there from Lowe. They were able to do that successfully on bars earlier. Have 3 beam routines left. Summer Ruskey up third for Temple.
She'll go punch front through to double tuck, sky high. Summer's really been a mainstay in this floor lineup during her time here with the Owls. And the only event she is competing today has had to wait quite some time, but looking good so far. Double pike. Very nicely done. Always good consistency from Summer on floor, and some fun choreography to go along with it.
This is why we can't have nice things over on balance beam. We got another judges conference on the routine here from Lowe. Now, obviously, the fall does bring some more opportunities for deduction and for discrepancy into count. You know the way that today was going, this was bound to happen. It looks as if I'm understanding the update and the scoring correctly, that Temple did inquire on Renee Shugman's score, and both start values were corrected down to a 9-3. So Temple paid the price for that one, and she ends up with a final score of 9.025 on beam. So Temple actually lost a few tenths overall from their beam score down to a 47.225, which again, Lauren, I think is about as low as you could possibly be for 5 hit routines, in quotes. I mean, no falls. They had the fall from Kirsten Johnson. That score was dropped. So the 5 scores that counted, all hit routines, and yet 47.225, you just had kind of start value issues and deductions right and left for Temple. So I'm sure some interesting conversations going on between the Temple coaches and the officials to try to pinpoint some of those deductions, and some things you have to take and try to clean up, and some things you might just have to kind of flush from this meet and get ready for week 2.
And hope for different judges next time.
Next on meet for West Virginia, Carly Nelson.
All right, conference is complete on the routine for Lowe. Regardless of what score the judges land on, the important thing now is you get 3 hit routines for West Virginia. They want to drop the fall, and that begins with junior Carly Nelson up 4th.
Handspring layout step out. No checks on there, really nicely done. Again, Carly, a junior, no stranger to the beam lineup, getting things back on track. Really fought for that side aerial to stay on, and unfortunately came off. So West Virginia will have to count now, definitively count a fall.
In addition to the 9.55 that they were already counting in that opening routine from Smith. So, unfortunately not going to get back to the heights that they did on the floor score, nearly 49.
And we will get a first look at Kirsten Johnson over on floor. And we talk about presentation. Kirsten is no stranger to that.
Yeah, absolutely dynamic routine to watch.
Tuck through to double tuck, saw the hand go up for the out of bounds, but man, can she really pair some dynamic tumbling with some dynamic dance and performance? Such a treat to watch. Double pike and over rotates. It looks like she just held onto her legs for a little too long, didn't open up and couldn't find that landing. Such a shame because this routine is so powerful.
I think you look at the day overall for Kirsten Johnson, a mixed bag. Came off on the Tkachev twice on bars, had a fall on beam, obviously the fall there on the double pike, but the ceiling is so incredibly high. Skills are so dynamic. When she gets it dialed in and calibrated right, I think she's going to be a force to be reckoned with for this Temple team. Just needing some refining right now after week one, which is not to be unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that this is really what this week is for. And I don't think anybody on either team who, maybe didn't have the routine that they wanted should walk out of here thinking, oh no, there goes the season. Because this week really is for working out the kinks, for, getting out there, doing sort of those first routines and finding your center and getting, focused in on how much adrenaline is too much adrenaline. And once, these gymnasts figure that out, they'll be rock solid. And I think Kirsten is absolutely one of those gymnasts that has all the elements, just needs to find that center and really go out there and do exactly what she knows how to do, nothing more, nothing less.
And more beam discussions continue as we wait for Kaylee Adams and Carly DiCello. Will be the last two here, and unfortunately for West Virginia, back-to-back falls here from Lowe and Nelson limit the overall scoring potential of this afternoon for the Mountaineers. Up next will be Kaylee Adams.
Kaylee, another gymnast that has beautiful artistry on beam, which I'm always a little envious of. It's like nerve-wracking enough being up there just on its own, and so to be able to really pull together such poise and put on truly a performance on beam is always impressive. Front aerial through to back handspring, layout step out. Beautiful triple series, and not one that you see all the time. That change from front to back in momentum is really difficult to control, but Kaylee did it with no issues. Beautiful leap work. Gainer pike off the end, beautiful routine. Tried to fight for that stick and ended up taking the step back, but I don't think she could be any prouder. She fought through some injury last year and didn't compete in her true freshman season, and seeing a little emotion on her face there. And I understand why, to come back and put on a performance like that has to feel really, really good. All the work that you put into rehab and getting yourself back in fighting shape. Yeah, that collegiate debut delayed by a year, but worth the wait there for Kaylee Adams. A really nice job, nice way to begin her college career. And now Temple with their 2 fifth years remaining on the floor. We've seen these two for many years, Renee Shugman and Brooke Donabedian. It'll be Renee up fifth. These two are always so fun to watch. Renee's had a great day today thus far. She'll go back 1.5, front full. I've always admired Renee's, control on her tumbling. It's dynamic yet somehow so light. She's grown to be such a good leader on this team. Double pike. Huge height on that double pike from Renee. Gets things back in the hit column for the Owls for this lineup. Sets things up for Brooke Donabedian to close things out as Carly DiCello gets up to close things out for the Mountaineers on beam. Another triple series on beam, nicely done. a little bit of a balance check. I think she might have, kind of been almost off on that second Schwitz leap in her connection, but manages to stay on. So we'll avoid the fall. Round off 1.5 dismount with just a step. We'll see what the judges do with that, kind of wobble off to the side. But nothing, after the second fall that they had in that lineup, nothing, overly disastrous. And Kaylee Adams, well-deserved, put up a 9.8 in that routine. So, some high numbers for the Mountaineers over on beam with the hits that they do have.
Yeah, those two 9.8s were really impressive, going back to Julia Brown, who I thought had a great routine. Adams, 9.8. Those are both sophomores. Adams, that was her first collegiate routine. So, again, it's not going to be overall the number that West Virginia wanted to have, particularly with what they did coming off of floor. But I think a lot for them to take away, both on beam and today overall. They will have an exhibition left. And the final competitive routine of the afternoon and now evening in Philadelphia is Brooke Donabedian. She was an NCAA regional competitor as an individual last year on this event, scored a 9.875 down in Gainesville. She is one of the nation's best on floor exercise.
Front 1.5 back layout step out, and I think the reason that you see such high scores from Brooke, you'll see, that front 1.5 layout step out we've seen from a couple other gymnasts, but it's the control and then it's the artistry on top of the control that I think puts her, gives her that leg up. No pun intended with the leg up turn that she just did. She'll close things out with a really difficult front 1.5, or front double, pardon me. Really nicely done, super controlled landing.
And she just looks like a carbon copy almost week to week, year to year, in her 5th year, and still just delivering that routine with such consistency. And great note for Temple to be able to end on. It was an uneven day overall for Temple, but good finish from Brooke Donabedian. And now we move on to a couple of exhibitions before we sign off this evening. Anna Lee and Journey Lane have been scheduled, but West Virginia has been knocking it down to one exhibition per event. It looks like Journey Lane is going to get the nod. We are scheduled for 2 exhibitions from Temple on floor, Reese DeHaan and Brianna Verano.
There's another judges conference in case anybody was
we don't even
thinking
have to
there might would
we
be,
don't even have to tell you at this point.
Yeah.
You already know. You don't even have to see it on your screen. You can just intuit. You can feel it. This has been one of the strangest dynamics between two judges, clearly just not on the same page on beam for this to happen as many times as it has today. Frustrating for all involved. Certainly you can hear it in our voices here, but it's not any more fun for the gymnasts or the coaches trying to or anyone involved trying to make heads or tails of the judges scoring on the balance beam. And Journey Lane will be ready to go here for West Virginia.
On floor for Temple, in exhibition is Reese DeHaan.
And we'll have the exhibitions run simultaneously. Reese DeHaan ready to go as the score comes in a 9.825 for Brooke Donabedian. Double box now with Journey Lane on your left, Reese DeHaan on your right.
That front run through to double tuck, really strong for Reese. And, you know, as we mentioned earlier, she's worked so hard to come back from injury to start adding some of these power events back. Is great to see. Dismount for Journey. Back cantering, back 1.5 with a little shuffle of the feet, but a great exhibition to close things out over there on beam for the Mountaineers. Double pike, very nicely done for Reese. And a solid hit. It's so good to see her on floor, build some confidence. I think we might be seeing some more of her on floor, definitely in the near future.
And coming back from an Achilles injury, which kept her off of everything but bars last season. So coming back here on vault exhibition, still saw her on bars, and now floor exhibition as well. So Dahan figuring to increase her impact on the Temple lineups here moving forward. And now one final exhibition routine before we sign off tonight. As you can see, the final unofficial team totals are in. West Virginia, it's a disappointing finish with the 47-350 on beam. Unfortunately, you know, close to 2 full points off of their floor score, where you really felt like they had some momentum going. They had 2.98, just counted a few too many low numbers there, and so they're going to finish with a 193.6, Temple a 191.3. You know, when you look at the season opening meet between these two teams last year in Morgantown, West Virginia had a 193.8. Temple had a 191.9, so broadly speaking, kind of in that same range again, and you know, both of those teams ended up with NQS scores in the 195 range. So it's a long journey from here. Both teams will hope to improve on what they were able to do today. And we will have one final exhibition. It will be Temple freshman Brianna Verano, who I've been impressed by. I think has brought some interesting difficulty in counting exhibitions. We've now seen her on 3 events.
Yeah, and I think she's, you know, a really good example of a freshman that has all the puzzle pieces, just really needs to like put them together and let them settle. She's got that high difficulty, as you mentioned, Kevin, and you know, I saw her warm up floor. She's definitely gonna have the good presentation factor going for her once she, you know, settles in and gets comfortable, and we'll see how she does in her first opening pass. She does a whip back to a double tuck, added some extra difficulty to that pass, and no issues on the landing for her there. Double pike to close things out. Nicely done for Bree.
All right, and that will bring the season opening competition to an end. West Virginia gets the victory with a 193.6, Temple 191.3. Some issues on the uneven bars for Temple, and then both teams plagued by a little bit of inconsistency on the beam, but West Virginia hit the higher highs tonight. They get the victory, and Lauren, obviously a long way to go for both of these teams this season with NCAA aspirations, and we'll see, but the journey starts somewhere, and it starts here with a nice victory on the road for West Virginia to open the season.
Absolutely. I think that West Virginia is going to go home feeling really good about what they put out on the floor today. No major issues, and I think that they have, room to grow in the best way. So I'm expecting to see really, really big numbers from them in the coming weeks.
All right, well, that is going to do it for us here today. For my partner, Lauren Porzio, I'm Kevin Kopp saying so long, everyone, from McGonigal Hall, where the final score in the season opening meet, West Virginia gets the dual meet victory with a 193-6. Temple finishes with a 191-3. All meets airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.